Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unpacking Possibility. I'm your host, Traci Stein. As always, I'm so happy to be here with you. Today, I'd like to talk about something that some of you might think is a little bit esoteric or a little bit of an esoteric take, but trust me, it'll make sense. And that is how losing a relationship affects our chakras, our energy centers, and how balancing these can help us feel better and do better in general. Now, those of you who know me know that I have a spiritual bent, but I like to incorporate the psychology of things into whatever we talk about here. And this is no exception. Relationships are fundamental to us, they're fundamental to our well being. And when we lose a relationship, either through death or divorce or a breakup, or just feeling like I can no longer do this with this person, whether it's you leaving or setting the ultimate limits, or someone else leaving you, it can be one of the most difficult things to sit with. Now, the energy centers come into play because the health of our energy centers really does impact how resilient we are, how we move through and handle the challenges of daily life, including the loss of a relationship. But again, relationships ending will impact these energy centers. And for us to feel better and do better, we're going to have to make specific and conscious steps to rebalance ourselves from the energetic level out. So I'll tell you what I mean as I go along. One thing I want to point out is that what you'll notice is the remedy for balancing a lot of these energy centers. There will be similar remedies that work to balance many of them. And that's really helpful because when you embark on something like whether it's supportive therapy or or connecting with a spiritual group or connecting with your sense of purpose or journaling and so forth, what you may find is that on multiple levels and in multiple ways you start to feel better sooner. So, the energy centers are things you probably heard of, the chakras. If you do yoga, certainly you will have been asked to visualize them and know that certain poses will balance certain energy centers or chakras. But basically, they're thought to be these spheres or wheel of energy that run, the major ones anyway, in a midline up the energy center of our body. So if you imagine somebody sitting in front of you from the base of the spine all the way up to about a foot above your head, these are the major energy centers that people tend to talk about, right? And you may very well have seen them illustrated like in the colors of a rainbow. Now, each energy center corresponds to a number of physical, emotional, and spiritual aspects of who we are, of our functioning. And when our energy centers are out of balance, we can feel unwell. We can have a hard time focusing. It can affect how we relate to people and ourselves. It can affect how much of a sense of purpose we feel connected to. When we balance these, not only do we feel better and do better, but we're more likely to be able, I think, to attract somebody that's in line with where we are. Think about that, right? Because when we're in an unhealthy place, do we attract the healthiest people to be in relationship with us? Probably not, right? When you see couples and it seems like, oh, they're both kind of great people, or they both seem pretty happy, or like they've got their ducks in a row, I don't think that's an accident, So let's talk a little bit more about that. So I want you to think of the energy centers again as these spheres of light, but you may also envision them as jewels, as radiant jewels, or as flowers opening or blooming. There's no one right way. And this may be your introduction to the chakras. That's totally okay. But the chakras starting at the base of your spine with the root chakra and then going all the way up to the crown chakra above your head, are the ways you are connected to heaven and earth, in theory. Your root chakra, the first person I heard really talk about this, believe it or not, was Mona Lisa Schultz, well-known neuropsychiatrist and medical intuitive. The root chakra, think about like you would think about the roots of a tree, connecting you to the earth, helping you feel grounded, helping you feel stable and sturdy, like a strong oak tree. Now, our root chakra is also linked to our sense of connection to our group or our tribe. So think of, um, not only our community, but our family community, our first tribe, right? But connected to a group where there's a sense of kind of resonance and belonging. Now, when a relationship ends, and for this podcast, I'm talking primarily about romantic relationships, but we could think of any relationship in these terms. So if there's another kind of loss you've experienced, whether again, you've left, someone's left you, someone's passed away, um, and that's how you've lost the relationship, you can still make use of some of what I'm going to talk about, a lot of what I'm going to talk about. So your security and stability in the world, that's the root chakra. And it's also visualized as a dark, beautiful ruby red. Now, when you have a loss, especially if it's one you did not choose, you can feel like your world has been upended. Listen to the types of things people say, especially if it's an unexpected end to your relationship. I feel like the rug was pulled out for me. I feel cut off at the knees, right? It's pretty graphic, but it describes, I feel shattered. Um, it's pretty accurate in terms of how people feel and how that chakra kind of takes a hit. It feels unbalanced. So balancing that root chakra is really important because especially if somebody has left you or a relationship's ended and it was your partner, I mean, that's the core of your primary group, your primary support group, right? And that's the core of your tribe. And so you're going to need to rebuild that. So, at the most energetic level, wearing red or dark red or surrounding yourself with something beautiful and red, imagining this beautiful ruby at the base of your spine, looking clear and bright and whole, very good things. But also joining a support group, especially if this has been a loss that's felt, devastating. I highly recommend that. But also finding people who can support you, that you feel safe with, that you feel a resonance with. And I would do that sooner rather than later, even if you don't feel ready to. It might be finding a group of people who have the same hobby as you. It might be, reconnecting with friends or family members who tend to really get you and are supportive, and that you, again, feel really safe with being yourself. That's important to build a strong foundation. And exercise, getting out in nature, also called earthing, walking barefoot in nature, really taking in the natural world and reconnecting to your body. Because what happens when we're really distressed, we get lost in our thoughts, lost in our imaginings, our recollections, our daydreams about what happened, what didn't happen, what should have happened, what we wish happened, all of that. But we're stuck in this kind of mental loop. And emotionally, we can feel very overwrought. Getting in our bodies discharges a lot of excess mental and emotional energy and helps us start to balance. And it's also just, um, you know, our root chakra is how we connect to our life force and the world and our physical body, using your body by doing yoga, jogging, swimming, walking, something, working with your hands. But doing something where you're not living in your head all day is going to be extra important. So that's the first energy center. The second one, right up the midline of your energy body, is your navel chakra. I think you can imagine this as this beautiful orange sphere about an inch or so below your belly button. This connects you to sexuality, sensuality, your creativity, your ability to enjoy life. Now, what you will notice if this is out of balance is you will start to doubt your own um, physical appeal. You will maybe be distrustful of entering into another romantic relationship. You may be um, likely to be hypersexual or feel sexually cut off, right? And I know what even defines that is very personal, but you know what you feel like when you're balanced. You don't feel compelled to do anything. You feel like you can enjoy life. Um, you feel like you can enter into relationships that are mutually respectful, and you feel creatively connected, right? Now, when we take a hit, and I'm using that term kind of deliberately because it can feel like we've been struck by something when we are, especially if a relationship ends unexpectedly. You didn't see it coming, or you weren't ready for it, or you didn't feel like you had a say in it. And by the way, when a partner passes away, we don't really have control over that. And that's going to relate also to the next chakra I'll talk about. But getting back into a sense of creativity, creatively connecting in some way, and that might be drawing, painting, taking a pottery class, expressing yourself through writing. It could be dancing, finding a way to get in touch with simple pleasures. So you can imagine running your hands over a piece of smooth, cool silk fabric and how soft and lovely that kind of tactile experience is, right? So getting into the world and engaging in a sensory way, but doing things, trying to find things that bring you joy. And I know it's really hard in the wake of a breakup or in the wake of a loss, but you may even just want to start by thinking about what used to give me joy, or who did I like spending time with other than this person, and doing more of that. And clearly getting involved with maybe a psychotherapy support group or seeing somebody for one-on-one therapy if need be, right? And sometimes we need extra help, and that's completely valid and important to go access that then. Now, the third chakra is your solar plexus chakra. It's the seat of your sense of personal power and your ability to exert your will in the world. Now, when we have a breakup, especially if it's one we didn't choose, we can feel very disempowered. We can feel a sense of shame. What are people thinking that this happened to me? What does it mean about me? We can feel guilt because we feel like, oh, what did I do wrong that this person is no longer with me? And sometimes, really, honestly, there's nothing. And it's just the relationship ended. Somebody made a different choice, or they had their own issues to work on, or somebody passes away and we cannot control that. But when we feel we can't control the events in our lives, it can feel so disempowering. So this sphere is a radiant yellow, a beautiful sun-colored yellow, a beautiful radiant gold. And wearing that color, being around that color, that can help begin to balance that chakra. Doing things that make you feel competent, like pursuing something that you either are good at now or learning something and getting better at it. Achieving small and large goals helps us to feel more empowered. Working with a therapist, of course, can help us to sort out what went on and help us make meaning so we can make different choices going forward, right? To the extent that we can, right? We can't control what anybody else does, but we can control what we do. And we can envision, using guided imagery or self-hypnosis techniques, the person, the version of us that would feel most empowered. Journal about that. You'll hear me talking about journaling a lot, but as you start writing that out and what that would look like and how you would know you were the more empowered and centered version of yourself, um, makes it much easier to start actually making steps toward doing those things that will help you feel more empowered, help you get to where you really want to be. Having good boundaries, learning to say no to stuff you don't want or that doesn't respect you, right? And conversely, being respectful of other people and their ability and right to make their own choices. These are all things that can help us feel empowered in a healthy way without trying to be overly submissive or overpower somebody else to try and force something that isn't going to be. Um, the heart chakra is the fourth chakra, a radiant, beautiful emerald green. Um, the heart actually connects our energy centers. It connects heaven and earth within us. It is the seat of our connections with everyone, ourselves, um, our loved ones, romantic and otherwise, and the world at large, right? Our ability to have compassion for ourselves and others, that all happens through the heart. When a relationship ends, we so often hear people talk about feeling, my heart is broken. Um, and honestly, that's very apt for that feeling. We can feel sometimes that when a relationship ends, especially if we didn't choose it, like we will never want to love again. Or even, I wish I had never met this person because no joy is worth the pain I'm experiencing now. And I want you to know that that's a very normal thing. People don't like to talk about it, but it's very common. But over time, what I'm hoping for you is that as you start to heal, not only do you allow yourself to love yourself and others again, but that you can look back on the good times in your relationship, even if it ended badly, and say, okay, I learned something about myself. This has helped me grow in some way. Um, I'm grateful for the joys that I had. I'm grateful for seeing something lovable and wonderful about myself through the eyes of someone who loved me. And maybe that's what you'll take from that relationship, and hopefully more, even if your paths have diverged. This is a bit controversial. A lot of people feel like we're supposed to be with the same person forever throughout a lifetime. And, a lot of times that's true and that's wonderful. But sometimes people come together and then it's for one reason or another, and it may not always be clear at the time, your paths diverge. And even if you try and hold on, you can kind of feel when a relationship has run its course. My hope for you is that as you heal and reclaim that feeling of love and compassion for yourself, it will open you up to receiving new love, and each relationship subsequently will be even healthier and more rewarding. I know how hard that is to think about that when you're in the throes of dealing with loss, but that is my hope for you, and I believe it's possible. As you envision what that would look like, a healthy, loving relationship and a healthy, loving relationship with yourself, it makes it that much easier for it to present and for you to receive love in a healthy way. Now, moving on to the throat chakra, you'll notice that's in the hollow of your throat. It's envisioned as light blue. Um, you can surround yourself with light blue, sit outside and lie back in the grass and take in a beautiful blue sky and just marvel at this gorgeous blue expanse above you. Just the magnitude of that beautiful expanse of sky. Our throat chakra is that color blue. And when it's balanced, we can express our truth and we can listen and be receptive. And we have a balance between the two. Now, when a relationship ends, the throat chakra, which is the minor seat of the will and is connected to your solar plexus chakra, that third chakra that we spoke about a few minutes ago. But the throat chakra is the way we express what we need. We set good boundaries with our voices. We articulate what we want and what we don't. And express our hopes and desires out into the universe. We set limits. If we cannot do that clearly, if we don't clearly know what we want, and if we can't clearly express it, it's much harder to actually access that. When we have a relationship end, it can feel like we don't have a voice. It can feel like we need to cry but can't, and we have that lump in our throat. Or it can feel like we cannot stop talking about how bad everything feels. Or it can feel like we just can't listen. We can't take in anything else because it feels overwhelming. Balancing the throat chakra helps us to express ourselves in a healthy way. It helps us to express ourselves clearly. It helps us to listen so that there is balance between speaking and hearing. It helps us to complement our solar plexus chakra and feel more empowered, right? So, singing, one of the best ways to use our throat chakra and balance it. If you're a shower singer only, fine. If you're a wonderful singer and sing, in your choir or in some other setting or whatever that is, great. If you use your voice for good generally, terrific. Listening to music, playing music. Now, please know that when you're going through a breakup, lots of people listen to super sad songs. In the beginning, that's okay. It might help you to get some of that tearfulness up and out. Don't do that in an ongoing way. Really use that time and that medium to visualize what you do want for yourself. Notice how you feel when you listen to really sad music versus how you feel when you listen to something that is empowering and uplifting. There's no way you can't notice the difference. And wear blue. The third eye, right here, between your brows, slightly above your physical eyes, you will notice that that is the chakra associated with visualization, with daydreaming. And it's so important because so often when we have a breakup, we are honestly almost compulsively envisioning everything that we've lost, everything that went wrong, everything that isn't something that makes us feel any better. And I don't mean to try to squelch the thoughts, feelings, and imaginings that you normally have, but more invest some energy, additional energy, more energy into envisioning what it is you really want for yourself, right? Envision what you learned from the relationship. Envision those things that you know you still want to work on. And envision how that would look unfolding in an important, healthy, and meaningful way for you. Write it down, journal, paint, whatever you have to do. And then again, envision the steps that you would need to make to be in the place you want to be. Be in a place where you could be happy on your own and in a relationship, and what the parameters of a healthy relationship would look like for you. It's so important to have a more concrete and specific idea of what that would look like. Much harder to attract something or to recognize it if it comes to you, if you don't really know specifically what you want. So that. And then your seventh chakra, the final one we'll talk about a foot or so above your physical head. Envision that as violet or this beautiful iridescent white. Some people envision it as this beautiful lotus. You can envision it however you want, but it is the chakra that connects you to your sense of meaning and purpose, to connection to the divine. And remember before when I said your heart is how heaven and earth kind of meet within you? Well, think of your root chakra as the earth and the crown chakra as heaven. your spiritual connection, your connection to something much greater. And I'm going to tell you something. Some people will disagree. Our relationships are important and fundamental. I think they're an important part of our well being. They make life feel that much more joyful, potentially. I don't actually think our purpose is just to be in a relationship with anybody, even if they're the most wonderful person in the world. I actually think our purpose is always something much greater than that, even if we don't know quite what it is yet. And it might be that you are a force for good in your community. You are a person who is kind to strangers, even in some small way, or that you are the best parent you can possibly be. And you help, your kids become adults who do good things in the world. Our purpose is to be invested in more than just our own stuff, I think. Our connection to the divine and our connection to the larger world. What you'll notice is that when we are grieving or upset or worried or sad or angry or any strong emotion, and we can feel all of those and more when we're going through some sort of relationship loss, it what it does is it pulls us into our own head and it pulls us into our own world. It takes the focus and puts it solely on our stuff, even if we're thinking about this other person, right? That's not the best use of our energy. And it can keep us in suffering. And so we have to find a balance between acknowledging what's going on with us and allowing ourselves to feel the feelings we have and give them their due, but also to get beyond that and remember that we are a part of a much larger community, a community that extends so much farther beyond our own walls or people we know. We have a purpose that is so much greater than that. And when we are doing things where we're focused on stuff beyond our stuff, it is so much harder to feel sad or upset or drowning in our own emotions because that's just such a small part, believe it or not, of who we are. That might sound hard to imagine, but it's actually true. So, doing these things that balance many of the chakras, moving, pursuing something that you enjoy and that you love, finding meaning in your day to day activities beyond yourself, um, reconnecting with groups of people that you have resonance with and that you feel supported by, and where you can also contribute support, engaging in something creative, taking care of your physical body so you can feel grounded, all of that can help balance you body, mind, and spirit. The more balanced you are, the more balanced the rest of your life will be, and the more resilient you will be when life throws you some sort of curveball. So I'm very curious. Let me know what you think of this episode. Share what you think in the comments. Um, as always, um, if you like the episode, please like, share, and follow. And until next time, be well.